Hey everybody, welcome to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan.
And I'm Rob.
And this is going to be our top 10 NFL Trust or Trade.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
Alright, so for today's segment, we're going to do Trust or Trade. We got a list of 10 notable players that you could either trust to keep on your fantasy team or trade away for the best value possible. This could be, honestly a keeper or a redraft league, but we're going to start off with Saquon Barkley, who probably went relatively high in a lot of drafts. I would have taken him somewhere in the top 30 for sure. But Saquon Barkley has been a polarizing figure over the last few years because of his injury and lack of production on that Giants team. It's been a downward spiral for him, and despite that good rookie season, really hasn't produced. Last year in 2021, 162 attempts, 593 yards, only 2 touchdowns on the ground. It's going to be interesting, but he's only 25 years old and obviously one of the most talented athletes we've seen come into the NFL as of late. I'm going to say that I trust Saquon Barkley to make a splash this year in 2022 to where I would not trade him away if I had selected him in a redraft or if I've got him on my keeper team. I'm going to roll one more year with him. And we got another polarizing figure at number 2. Rob, take it away.
Yep, Christian McCaffrey. It's very similar to Saquon Barkley. All the talent in the world can't stay healthy. And I'm going trust on this one too. I mean, especially in a dynasty league, I guarantee you've probably been holding on to Saquon Barkley and or CMC. So, why give up on them now? I know a lot of players probably, or a lot of managers will end up, potentially hoping for a big 2-3 weeks from these guys to unload them. But, I mean, there's so much talent here. You got to trust it.
Going on to number 3, we're going to talk about Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill obviously made a big jump from the Chiefs over to the Dolphins. That means he no longer has Patrick Mahomes throwing to him. He is talking up Tua, and we know that Tua, likewise, could make a giant leap because of Tyreek Hill, but the question is whether or not Tyreek Hill is going to produce for you like seasons past. I remember seeing this guy burst onto the scene mostly as a punt and kickoff returner kind of guy, and I was like, man, he's really good to have. Chiefs special teams, it's good to have them as your defense because of Tyreek Hill alone. Last year, still got over 100 receptions, 1,200 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill's an absolute monster. They also sometimes hand him off the ball and you can get a few rushing touchdowns. Whether or not I trust or trade him for this year with the Dolphins, knowing Tua's on the hot seat and his career up until this point, to be honest, I might be trying to trade away Tyreek Hill to get someone that I could use at a specialty slot like tight end. I would consider trading away Tyreek Hill for Travis Kelce, and if you can make that trade, Kelce comes over to your team as a top tight end, but you're getting rid of a wide receiver that could drop from position 6 to maybe 15. So I would be looking to get rid of Tyreek Hill right now. Rob, at number 4, tell us your candidate and whether or not you trust or trade.
Yeah, as you know very well, I just can't seem to quit this guy. Miles Sanders, running back, we think, for the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year was a mixed bag of sorts. It has been since he's been in Philly. But again, it's just too much talent back there. And I got a feeling that if they just let this guy go, make him the RB1, and undoubtedly give this guy, 18 to 25 touches a game, he has the yards per carry and yards after touch that could potentially make him a very, very, very good running back. And I mean, again, if they do, and I know we'll be talking about a couple more Eagles here in a second, if the Eagles offense can get their shit together, because last year we were talking about this team winning the division because on paper this team's amazing, and I think Miles Sanders, no pun intended, could run away as a top running back going in here, and it wouldn't shock me if we're talking about drafting Miles Sanders in the first round if Philly decides to get their heads out of their asses.
Let's talk about a couple more Eagles then. At 5 and 6, I've got some guys on this list that I would think of right away to trust or trade. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Let's talk about Hurts for a second. Jalen Hurts, obviously on my team, So I've got my own feelings about this. But I like to stay unbiased, especially with quarterbacks. I wasn't a huge fan of Deshaun Watson on my team, despite the praise that he always got. And Jalen Hurts finished his top 10 last year.
And his penis.
Yeah, exactly. Deshaun Watson at work trying to give himself a raise as usual. But Jalen Hurts here at position rank 10 last year, 95% rostered. I think he's probably that fringe fantasy league quarterback where everyone's like, man, do I take him or do I take, am I going to roll with Kirk Cousins or something? Started off the season great, 264 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions. Started to fall off a little bit, and then we started to see him use his legs more and more. Dallas Goedert getting hurt for part of the season as usual. Devontae Smith didn't make a huge splash. Jalen Reagor's been abysmal, but this year he's got A.J. Brown. So it's Jalen Hurts last season for me. I trust him. This year, he's got the legs to do it. We know he can put up the 26 to 30 fantasy touchdowns per year, a lot of yards totaled out. So I'm going to trust Jalen Hurts one more year on my team. And I'm not going to try and move him for any other quarterback or a position player or anything like that. A.J. Brown, I am going to go ahead and say this is a year you trust him. I mean, I didn't want to get into this segment just yet, but A.J. Brown, you trade for in these situations, I think, for 2022, because now he's got that full power offense. Like you were saying, they made the playoffs last year. They're pretty much the same roster. They're in a position to do it again, and this time we could see a number 1 target for Jalen Hurts that really lets him unlock his arm a little bit. I'm gonna say trust AJ Brown. He could put up a huge season. I think he might be the new Tyreek Hill in terms of fantasy production if Jalen Hurts can work out his issues with his arm. On that note, we're done with the Eagles here. Let's go on to the 49ers. You've got a couple of players. Tell us if you trust or trade them.
Let's stick with this wide receiver thing. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk. I would like to talk to both at the same time because this is my take on it. I believe that Brandon Aiyuk will be the Deebo Samuel last year. Now, the running game, not so much. But I believe that everybody's going to be staring a hole into Deebo Samuel, whether it be in the backfield or lining up on the sidelines or whatnot. And I think Brandon Aiyuk, there's a bunch of all these stories coming out now. Oh gosh, look at Trey Lance and Brandon Aiyuk. They're connecting. Let's see what happens there. It could be interesting. But I would not be shocked if Deebo Samuel just takes a little bit of a step back just because last year was so insane. I mean, this guy just blew up out of nowhere after dealing with a few injuries after coming over from South Carolina when they drafted him a couple years ago. I'm going to say let's trade Deebo Samuel because very similar to that of Travis Kelce. I would take a Travis Kelce for Deebo Samuel, even in a dynasty league. And the only reason I say this is because there's Travis Kelce, in my opinion, we've talked about this many times before. There's no other tight ends. And I'm buying the hell out of Brandon Aiyuk stock this year. And I'll push it even just a little further, as you were talking about A.J. Brown. I think Brandon Aiyuk could have a better season than A.J. Brown if Trey Lance is going to be the man in San Francisco.
All right, so another wide receiver here. This one, I mean, people might think I'm crazy, but if you're in a keeper league, Devonta Adams, I might choose this year to trade him away because you can get high capital in return for him. I think Devonta Adams is marketable to a team in return for a top running back, and I think this is a year you get rid of him. I mean, like, position ranked 3 on the season last year, obviously over 1,500 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns, absolute monster as usual, but he's no longer with Aaron Rodgers. Now he's with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is one of his own college teammates, I believe, so there's no reason to think there's not going to be chemistry there, but Derek Carr is Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is not Aaron Rodgers. So at 29 years old, Devonta Adams is probably going to take a step back in production like every wide receiver eventually does, besides, not named Antonio Brown or Randy Moss for the bulk of their careers. Devonta Adams is one of those guys I think I'd try to get rid of right now for some high capital in a barren running back landscape. So, Rob, last guy talking about running backs, this is somebody that might not start the season, and there's a new running back on the Jags. Who are you talking about here?
Yeah, we can't go a podcast without talking about our Jags. Let's jag off. James Robinson. I would buy that guy everywhere I possibly could. Just last year, we were talking about him going first 2 rounds. Again, you can throw away that Jacksonville Jaguars season of last year because we all know what happened and blah, blah, blah. Yes, he might not be ready. Yes, ETN is back there now. But now with this Jags reloaded, if you will. I feel like we say this every season. I think James Robinson needs to be bought where you could, but I would try to trade for him now before it's too late, and I would try to get him super cheap. And I would try to kind of sell, I don't know, maybe a big name rookie that somebody is just salivating over. I'm trying to think of somebody that might come. I mean, what about like a Kenny Pickett or somebody that we know eventually is going to start? Desmond Ridder, you know, comes to mind, who eventually is going to be the quarterback there in Atlanta. Just maybe try to get him. I think in ESPN he's like 74% owned. So there's a quarter league's not even owning this guy. And again, he was drafted in the first 2 rounds last year. Like, that's insane. I would trust and I would trade.
Yeah, you're giving me some ideas now. Maybe I'll make my brother an offer in the keeper league since I have Etienne. Now let's talk about who we could trade for real quick. Just really quick thoughts.
Yeah.
These are some lower names, or you know ex-stars who have taken a drop off in the past few years, or new guys that are kind of unproven, one-year wonders. Let's talk about just a few names real quick. Off the top of your head, Juju Smith-Schuster this year going to the Chiefs. Do you think this is a good time to buy low on him and trade for him?
Yeah, because I believe that when we were talking, you and I mean, you said it, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Kansas City. Mahomes is going to have to throw to somebody. You know he's going to scramble. Mahomes is going to scramble, you know, get loose, have the defense come in on him. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, dude, he's a fast kid, man. Like, this could be interesting for Kansas City. Now, is he Tyreek Hill? No. Will he do what Tyreek Hill did in Kansas City? Absolutely not. But am I trading for Juju Smith-Schuster? Yes.
Yeah, and likewise, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I would trade for him right now. I mean, I know we usually don't like to do this where we're just going off of what happened last year, but I mean, DeAndre Swift and Hawkinson, their tight end, they were hurt for most of last year. So like I said, you know, Goff didn't have a whole lot of options. Now they've added DJ Chark and Jamison Williams, and they got Swift and Hawkinson back. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown might take a step back, just a little bit of a step back, but he's still the most trusted receiver on that team, and there's no reason to think he can't put up, 90 receptions and 1,000 yards again. So I'm thinking, this is a good time to buy him because a lot of people have lowered expectations for him this season. He's not as high in the X rankings on Yahoo, not as high in the ESPN rankings. I trade for Amon-Ra St. Brown when I think about it. Darnell Mooney, another guy I've talked about for years. We got him on Steph's team. Yep. You're starting to fall in love with him, so I assume you would trade for, right, if you could?
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the fastest receivers in the league. If Justin Fields is going to take that leap, I truly believe it would be this year. I think Chicago's going to be patient with him after they toyed with him last year, pulling him in and then sitting him and then starting a shit show in Chicago. But I love Darnell Mooney. I think that dude doesn't get enough love. And I remember even just last year in one league, somebody dropped him halfway through the season. I picked him up and reaped the benefits of it because he went off in the second half. And I was just like, I could see that happening again this year, man. I like Darnell Mooney a lot, for sure.
And a lesser name, so it's probably pretty easy to get, especially in the less seasoned leagues where you got somebody who doesn't really even know who Darnell Mooney is. I'd go after him. Elijah Mitchell on the 49ers. This one doesn't convince me. I wouldn't trade for him. I wouldn't draft him right now. I don't even know if you could trade him away. I would have no interest. We've seen the 49ers backfield over the years, and it's been an absolute mess.
It's a catastrophe.
Yeah, it's just one of those guys. It doesn't excite me. Even when he was like the clear starter there, they would still move him in and out. I mean, I would not be comfortable with him as an RB1. I mean, you'd have to get him super cheap for it to matter. Rashad Penny, somebody you scooped up at the end of last year. Would you trade for him right now, knowing his abysmal career up to this point, but all the hype he had coming in 2018?
Yeah, no, Rashad Penny, I mean, it's going to be interesting. At the end of last year, he killed it. I mean, looked like the RB1. Chris Carson is finally retired. Hallelujah. We don't need to talk about, is this the year Chris Carson explodes? Because it's not going to happen. Rashad Walker, who they got from Michigan State right now, is going through an injury. So it could be interesting for Penny. The thing is, the caveat to both Rashad Penny and James Robinson, who I was talking about earlier, is I think the teams really are not that good. And in all honesty, I think Seattle, with your boy Drew Lock, is in even worse position than James Robinson, of course, with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. So I'm a little lenient on Penny, but just like James Robinson, I would try to get on the cheap.
You know, someone like Darren Waller, that's a bigger name. This one might cause controversy because, like, I wouldn't go after him. Like, I wouldn't trade for him. I wouldn't give any high capital for Darren Waller. I think it's just one of those situations like George Kittle. You probably got one great year of a tight end out of him, and the rest is just like he's a better tight end to have than not. It's like, you know, back in the day when Shannon Sharp was a big fantasy monster, and then you've got, you know, Tony Gonzalez. Tight end landscape has changed a little bit, but no one has really filled that void the way Travis Kelce has. Mark Andrews is the borderline after that. Darren Waller, I really wouldn't go after. But, you know, that's the thing with those bigger names. Sometimes that's surprising. I think you just leave him where he is. He's going to burn out on someone's fantasy team, and then they've got to go after what is historically one of the weakest positions in fantasy in the first place. So don't try to fill your slot with him. Chase Edmonds, though, we talked about him a few times on the podcast. This is the year we really see something out of this guy. As a rookie from 2017 and 2018. Chase Edmonds has been in the league for a few years, and he showed points where he's got fantasy brilliance written all over him. He's a PPR darling. He's been behind James Conner. He's been behind other running backs, and he's playing that PPR role of just being a passing back. But on Miami with, you got Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel. Sony Michel is not going to be catching the ball. Raheem Mostert is probably going to be the change of pace back. He's getting older. He's getting hurt a lot. Chase Edmonds is going to be the main guy they look to be a playmaker on the field, and he's going late in rounds, very, very late. So get after Chase Edmonds while you can. I think he's great to trade for in a keeper league for the next few years, and I think he's easy bait to trade for in a redraft especially. So look to Chase Edmonds to save your fantasy team this year.
So Ryan, are you chasing Chase Edmonds?
I would chase Chase Edmonds, chase the Dragon, chase the Edmonds. I'm all over that guy this year. But once again, that's going to be our top 10 trust or trade and some trade fours. This was Fantasy R&R with Rob and Ryan. We'll see you next time.